والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue inshallah ta'ala with the signs of the hour, and we're still in the minor signs, and inshallah tomorrow if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us life we'll talk about the major ones. And this is again, we talked about some points of introduction which is very important for us to have the proper intention of learning this. This is part of the deen. Matters of unseen to us, we need to believe in it the way the Prophet ﷺ said it, and we only take what is authentic from the Ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and in some of these Ahadith we have to act accordingly. Continue inshallah ta'ala. One of these Ahadith which is close to the meaning of what's been mentioned before, the Prophet ﷺ said in this Hadith in Sahih Muslim, he said عليه الصلاة والسلام تقيء الأرض أفلاذ كبدها أمثال الأسطوان من الذهب والفضة, which means the earth will, taqi is the same word that is used for throwing up. So the earth will throw out its inside the like of a pillar or pillars from gold and silver. فيجيء القاتل, so the killer will come and say في هذا قتلت, in this I was killed, قتلت, in this I killed, meaning for this gold or silver. And وجيء القاطع, and the one that severed the relationship of his kin and kith would say, in this I severed the relationship with my relatives. And the thief will come and say, in this my hand was cut off as a result of stealing. And then they would call them and they would not be able to take anything from it. Allah knows best how that is, but it shows that whether it's the hadith of the Euphrates will received on treasure of gold, which the Prophet ﷺ ordered not to, if he witnessed this, not to take anything from it, because people would kill each other for the sake of this gold or this metal that comes from the earth. Also the Prophet ﷺ said, إن من أشراط الساعة, clearly from the signs of the hour, أن يظهر الشح. الشح is greediness. Greediness will prevail. Everybody's greedy. Everybody's about his own self. Me, myself, right? Everything is, myself and me, at me.com and things like this. So everything is about oneself and fulfilling the desires of oneself, right? The whole world is centered about oneself. So when shuh or greediness prevail, this is one of the signs of the hour. Wal-fuhsh. And fuhsh is sins, but specifically to the sins that has to do between men and women. Fornication and adultery and the foul language that in the same subject. This is something that also would prevail, which is very obvious. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and protect our children and all Muslims from such evil acts. وَيُؤْتَمَنُ الْخَائِنُ, was mentioned before, the one that betrays his trust will be trusted. وَيُخَوَّنُ الْأَمِينَ, and the trustworthy person will be called that he's a betrayer and he doesn't keep his trust. وَيَظْهَرُ ثِيَابٌ يَلْبَسُهَا نِسَاءٌ كَاسِيَاتٌ عَارِيَاتٌ, which means some clothing will appear that women would wear it. They're covered but they're naked. They're covered, meaning they're wearing clothes, but they are naked, which doesn't need much explanation. This is one of the signs of the hour. Also the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يكون أسعد الناس بالدنيا لكع ابن لكع. That means the hour will not be established till the most person will be happy with this life, that the materialistic things of this life is Luka' ibn Luka'. Who's Luka' ibn Luka'? Luka' ibn Luka' means someone that is La'im ibn La'im. What's La'im?
Mean. Mean.
Mean or no, there's someone mean, someone evil, someone that is a deceiving person. He's like, like wolves and things like that. He's just evil person. He's going to be the most person that is happy with this life. It's supposed to be that the believers also are happy with this life. But when people, as a result of sins, they make the life of those who want to be upright difficult, right? Life sometimes, or the materialistic part of it, it becomes difficult for them, but they are willing to sacrifice for the sake of Allah. And as we said before, the deen of Islam is not to make your life difficult. It's people made their life difficult. For example, it's permissible for us to swim, to go to the beach or to the oceans and swim. This is a good thing. And this is something actually a person can be rewarded if you have the right intention. But when people would go swim and take off their clothes, right, then it's not permissible for you to be present when people are doing these things, because you have to lower your gaze and so on. So you would basically be cautious of where to go and how to go and when to go. So you would choose certain times when there's not too many people there, and you might think that it makes your life a little bit inconvenient, right? It's not because that the deen is difficult. No, it's just people made the life of those who want to apply the deen difficult. Otherwise, there's all kinds of spaciousness in matters of deen, and we don't choose the time that we live in. So at certain times when people are committing sins and so on, a Muslim has to be patient. Also, the Prophet ﷺ said in the authentic hadith, quoted by Imam Ahmad and others, لا تقوم الساعة حتى تظهر الفتن. The hour will not be established till fitan, tribulations and trials, will be apparent and prevail, which is something that we hear repeated many times in the hadith. So the more the time passes, the more fitan there will be. That means a person has to prepare himself to do what? To face the fitan? No, to run away from it. Right? So the attitude of the Muslim always is to stay away from al-fitan. And the biggest fitna, which we will discuss inshallah ta'ala tomorrow, is the fitna of the Dajjal, the liar, right? The biggest fitna. The Prophet ﷺ did not say, go face him, you are a strong believer, and tell him that you are the liar. No, the Prophet ﷺ said, run away from him. Right? Otherwise you might think that you know him and you'll end up following him. So the same thing with fitan. You think that you're strong, but you end up following the fitan. وَيَكْثُرْ الْكَذِبِ. And lying will be too much. Right? Lying is just, also a lot. وَيَتَقَارَبُ الْأَسْوَاقِ. Which means markets will be very close to each other. Right? Markets, too many markets. Right? This is what the Prophet ﷺ said from the signs of the hour. وَيَتَقَارَبُ الزَّمَانِ. And time will shrunk, will be very close. There's no blessings in time, or physically time is not as it was before. وَيَكْثُرْ الْهَرْجِ. And killing will be also a lot of killing. People would not care too much about life. The life of others at least, they would find it easy to kill one another. Another hadith reported by Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, that the Prophet ﷺ said, لَيَأْتِيَنَّ عَلَى النَّاسِ زَمَانٌ لَا يُبَالِي الْمَرْءُ بِمَا أَخَذَ الْمَالِ أَمِنْ حَلَالٍ أَمْ مِنْ حَرَامٍ. A time will come when the person would not really care. لَا يُبالي. Doesn't care from where he gets his money, from halal or haram. He doesn't really care as long as he gets the money. Right? This is one of the signs of the hour. And that means we have to act accordingly, which is we should care. We should care about how do we earn our money to make sure that it's halal. And if the norm is that most of, or a lot of times where people would earn haram, then a person is not permissible for him to leave the matter not caring about it and then later to ask. Before you get the job, before you do something, then you have to make sure that you know that it's halal and it's not haram, something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbid. Also the Prophet ﷺ said, بَيْنَ يَدَيِ السَّاعَةِ يَظْهَرُ الرِّبَى وَالزِّنَا وَالْخَمْرِ. Before the hour, three things will be so prevailing, and يظهر meaning there's something that is hidden, it's happening, but it's not shown and seen all over the place. When yadhar means that you go anywhere, you find it very apparent and very clear. Right? The norm of the people, which is al-riba, usually, interest, was zina, and fornication, adultery, wal-khamr, and drinking intoxications, wine and beer and all of these types of things. And these three things are very, it's not, nobody is doing it as a way of a shame. Right? If people they have goodness and they become weak facing these types of sins, they will do it, but they're ashamed to expose it and for people to see it. Now, those who are not dealing with these three things, they make them ashamed of themselves. Right? they call them names. They find themselves as they having some complexities, right? Why are you not dealing with these things? Why are you not, when the Muslim doesn't have a boyfriend, girlfriend, these types of things, they looked at as someone that is not normal, right? When these are major sins, right? And intoxications, which is also not just something that happened when the Prophet ﷺ was sent. There's no messenger of Allah that came and was sent unless he forbade these things. Isa alayhi salam, the religion of Isa alayhi salam, the religion of Musa alayhi salam, all the messengers of Allah, and it's still present in their books today. In the Torah and the Injil, in it, riba is haram, usury is haram, and zina is haram, adultery is haram, and wine and intoxications is haram, in their books. Right? So it's not something that is invented. And that's why the followers of Isa alayhi salam are the followers of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Who are the ones that don't drink wine, and who are the ones that say that zina, fornication is haram, and who are they? The followers of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they are the true followers of Jesus, Isa alayhi salam. Even sujood, which is mentioned that Isa alayhi salam made sujood or ordered to sujood, nobody makes sujood except the followers of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why we have more rights. These are our messengers, Isa alayhi salam and Musa alayhi salam and so on. Also, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, actually this is a narration by Ibn Abi Shayba, and it's an authentic one, that Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu, he said, and he would not say that unless he heard it from the Prophet ﷺ, because it's a matter of unseen. He said, يأتي على الناس زمان يجتمعون ويصلون في المساجد وليس فيهم مؤمن. That a time would come when people would be gathered in the masjid and they pray, but none of them is a believer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. And this can be explained, that doesn't mean that there are disbelievers, right? There will still be Muslims, right? But they're not in the level of al-Iman, right? So they're Muslims, but they're not into the level of al-Iman. It can be described in that sense, because those who would make salah, of course, they're Muslims, but sins and disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the person's Iman weak, right? Which keeps him as a Muslim still, right? He's not a disbeliever, but of a weak Iman. Also, the Prophet ﷺ said one of these signs of the hour, that again some of it might happen or didn't happen, right, as we said, or some of the sign might happen, not the whole sign. For example, the Prophet ﷺ said, Ashrat al-Sa'ah, repeating some of the things that we said because this is another narration, and yaqil al-ilm, that knowledge is less. This time is not like lifted altogether, but knowledge is less. And this is something very clear, that we have a big problem when it comes to the knowledge of the deen of Islam. If you see how many of the true people of knowledge, those who spread the deen of Islam with the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in proportion to the numbers of the Muslims, we have a real serious problem, right? Because we need to get married, and there are issues of halal and haram, and how to make salah, and how to eat and drink. We are in need of the people of knowledge more than we need food and drink, right? And where is that when a person will face many things in his life and you want to ask and you can't find anyone to ask? So this is a real problem. So the knowledge will be less, and وَيَظْهَرُ الْجَهْلِ, and as a result of that, ignorance will prevail. وَيَظْهَرُ الزِّنَا, adultery and fornication will prevail also. وَتَكْثُرُ النِّسَاء, and women will be a lot. وَيَقِلُّ الرِّجَالِ, and men will be less. We said maybe because of wars or whatever. حَتَّى يَكُونَ لِخَمْسِينَ امْرَأَةً الْقَيِّمُ الْوَاحِدُ, to the extent of which for every 50 women there will be one man, in proportion. Also the Prophet ﷺ said, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ. As we see, these are the evil acts of the sign of the hour. And not all the signs are evil things, but many of them are like this. وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ لَا تَفْنَى هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ حَتَّى يَقُومَ الرَّجُلُ إِلَى الْمَرْأَةِ فَيَفْتَرِشُهَا فِي الطَّرِيقِ. That this ummah would not disappear, or the hour would not establish, unless till a man, or till it will happen that a man would يَفْتَرِشُهَا, meaning with a woman, is when a person is on his bed. And this will be في الطريق, in the street. Will be with a woman like as if they are in bed, but in the streets. فيكون خيارهم يومئذ من يقول, the best of them at that time would say, لو واريتها وراء هذا الحائط. He would tell him, wouldn't you just go behind the wall? This is the best among them. The one that has some, something in his heart would say, not that forbidding the act itself, just, whatever weird. Also the Prophet ﷺ said, one of the signs, أن يظهر موت الفجاءة, that the sudden death will be a lot. Person will just die a sudden death without, being sick and so on. And that's why this is not necessarily a good or a bad thing. It is bad in many cases, of course, because a person is not preparing himself for death. But if a person is righteous and he's always preparing himself for the moment of death, death comes at any time, he is ready, he would say the word La ilaha illallah and so on. But that's why a person has to be always prepared for life to be terminated at any time. No madhalim, no injustices, no things that is needed to be given to others or whatever there is, rights of people that are not being done, not repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why those also who they have afflicted with a disease that is not curable according to the time that we live in, they should look at it after it happened, not before they are sick, but after they are sick they should look at it as this is a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because a person can prepare himself for the moment of death. And this can be a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not to ask for such a thing, but if it happens, a Muslim is always pleased with the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the destiny of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Take two more hadith, so that kept you from Maghrib, inshallah. Tomorrow, prepare yourself, inshallah, from Asr, because we have a lot to cover, inshallah. And I try, inshallah, not to repeat the things that we said before. The Prophet ﷺ said in hadith in Musnad Ahmad, بين يدي الساعة, very close to the hour, one of the signs of the hour, تسليم الخاصة, which is people give salam only to the ones that they know. Right? They don't give salam to everyone. They only give salam to their friends. Right? Al-khassa, which is something that was not known at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Because part of the deen is to give salam to the one that you know and you don't know. Muslims, you give salam whether you know the person or you don't know the person. But one of the signs of the hour, and this is something that you would see even in Muslim countries and so on, in which you're supposed to be walking in the street and there are Muslims, you're supposed to say salam to everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and so on. Right? Your whole walking is just making salam to people. But it becomes that you only give salam to the ones that you know. This is one of the signs of the hour. وَفُشُوُّ التِّجَارة. Taslim al-khassa is not a good thing. To give salam only to the ones that you know, this is not a good thing. But this is the second one is not necessarily a bad sign. It's a permissible one. فُشُوُّ التِّجَارة, which means trade becomes so much. People deal with trade so much. حتى تعين المرأة زوجها على التجارة. To the extent of which that the wife is helping her husband with trade. Right? So both the husband and the wife, they're both buying and selling. Right? So that means it becomes so much. This is not necessarily something bad. If it's halal, it's halal. Nothing wrong. It becomes bad if it's haram or if it takes the person away from fulfilling the purpose of his life. Becomes busy day and night with buying and selling and trade and money and so on. And the wife, the same thing. And there's nothing left for the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for taking care of the rights that we have in our life. This life is not about making money. It's about, money is nothing but a mean to establish the purpose of our life, to have the quality of life that we know is the life that a person is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to worship Allah, to establish the salah, to give charity, to be kind. This is the quality of life. Not the quality of life that a person has more money than others. And then he said, alayhi salatu wassalam, from the signs of our وَقَطْعِ الْأَرْحَامِ, to sever the relationship between the kin and kith. One's brothers and sisters and relatives and cousins and so on, they don't have nothing to do with them. One of the signs of the hour, one of the major sins. Whether to boycott them because of money situations or inheritance or something here or there, or the wife of such and such, and two wives, they get in an argument, so you find the two husbands also, their brothers, and their wives, they get into an argument. So what happens to the brothers? Relationship is severed and they don't talk to each other anymore. You know, or the wife or their mother-in-law, all kinds of things like this. Person has to be careful. This is the work of shaitan and one of the signs of the hour. وَشَهَادَةُ الزُّورِ, to witness in a false way in court, right? That you would say, I saw this when you didn't see it. I witnessed that this person stole when you didn't see it. You know, people just lying to make others in trouble or to save others from trouble. It's all haram. Even if it's your best friend, even if it's your mother or father, or your own son, right? And something happened and you are in a court or in front of, you're given a witness, you have to be honest and truthful, even if that person is poor and needy, and if you witness against him, that would ruin his life. You witness with what you saw, like the sun. Not by guessing, right? It has to be something that you saw, like the daylight. And if it's the case, then you say it, even if that would ruin the life of that person. Some people think it's out of their goodness is, if they're asked to witness, to make shahadat zur, this is not permissible whatsoever to lie in such a situation, right? And each case has its own situation, but this is very important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that in the Quran. إِيَكُنْ غَنِيًّا أَوْ فَقِيرًا فَاللَّهُ أَوْلَى بِهِمْ. In matters of witness. If they are rich or poor, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of them. You're asked to give a witness, you witness with the truth as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered. And this is something that is very spread. Right? People, they pay money. There's, salaries for these people to give the false witnesses over things. And as it says, when they want someone to give a false witness in the court, they bring them in limousine, right? And they come very honored because they're going to give them the witness that they want. After they finish, they go home. You're done, right? So, وَكِتْمَانُ شَهَادَةِ الْحَقِّ, to conceal the truth. This is one of the signs of the hour, to conceal the truth. Close to Shahadat al-Zur, but Shahadat al-Zur is to say false, what is false, and the other one is to conceal the truth. And this has many different levels of it, and a person has to speak out the truth and not to conceal it, especially in matters of deen. And the last one in this narration, which is, and again, an amazing thing, the Prophet ﷺ said, وَظُهُورُ الْقَلَمِ, and the qalam, the pen, will be, again, zuhur means prevailing, or it's a lot, right? Which is something wasn't the case, thousands of years ago, where people, there's so many pens, everybody has a pen and writing and so on. One last hadith, inshallah, said two hadith. This is one, the last one, inshallah ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ said, hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, in Ibn Khuzaymah, and it's an authentic one, إن من أشراط الساعة أن يمر الرجل في المسجد لا يصلي فيها ركعتين. One of the signs of the hour that a man would pass by the masjid doesn't pray in it 2 rak'ah. Right? So the masjid, which is another narration, the masjid becomes the path of the people. Right? They take the masjid as path. They want to go from one door to the other door, and not to a place of worship. So that means, of course, if you enter a masjid, it is not permissible to sit unless you pray 2 rak'ah. Or if it's time for fard, you pray the fard. If it's time of sunnah, you pray sunnah. But the masajid is to be used mainly for the most important act, which is the salah and the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the hadith again from the signs of the hour, and يَمُرَّ الرَّجُلُ, that a man would pass in the masjid, does not pray 2 rak'ah in it. We'll stop inshallah at this point and we'll continue inshallah ta'ala tomorrow. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from the evil within our own selves and to forgive our sins. وصلى الله وسلم على محمد وصحبه وسلم.